Will Forster.
Thank you, Sal. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship this afternoon. I'm grateful for the Backbench Business Committee for allocating time for this statement from the second report of the Housing, Communities and Local Government Select Committee. I'm pleased to speak on behalf of the committee today in place of my colleague, the Honourable Member for Vauxhall and Camberwell Green. Our report is on the affordability of home ownership in England, a topic that affects so many people across the country. Some have suggested that in the current market, affordability of home ownership is a contradiction in terms. Everyone who has tried to buy a home recently or knows someone who has knows how difficult and expensive it has become. Housing affordability has been getting worse for decades. The majority of British people still want to own their own home, but fewer of them can do so. Over 20 years, the rate of home ownership has dropped from 71% to 63%. Young adults is even worse for them. The rate of home ownership for 27-year-olds fell from 43% to 25%, not over 20 years, but over 10. It is deeply unfair that someone's chances of owning a home is more dependent on whether their parents own a home than their own earnings. That is unacceptable and needs to change. Of course, affordability is exceptionally complicated. House prices have risen while incomes have stagnated. Mortgages have been hard to obtain, and there are systematic barriers that slow down the whole home buying process. Successive governments have tried to tackle the problem, but they have failed to measurably improve the situation. The current government must not fail as well. What, then, is the government to do? First, as we know, more homes are needed. The government is right to address the historical undersupply of homes, and we support its target to provide 1.5 million new homes by the end of the Parliament. At the same time, we are concerned the government might not meet this target, and even if it does, 1.5 million new homes may not be enough. The last time that homes in this country were built at that pace to hit that government target was over 50 years ago, and 40% of homes were built by councils back then. Those days are long gone. Now 75% of home building is done by private developers who are facing their own challenges. Costs of building are rising. And if private developers can't make a profit, they won't build the homes in the first place. We are seeing this happen across the country. Developers, like the Berkeley Group, are scaling back operations because of the volatility caused by the conflict in the Middle East. In my own constituency of Woking, over 2,000 homes have got permission for in and around the town centre alone, but none are even under construction. The government is right to encourage councils to build again, including through its social and affordable homes programme, but private developers are vital to build the homes we need. We have asked the Ministry to write to us twice a year about its actions and progress to increase home building rates by developers. But there is also more the government could do, including using the hundreds of thousands of homes around the country that are lying empty. These homes are an unused stockpile representing a significant chunk of the 1.5 million new homes the government wants to build. Councils already have some powers to take control of vacant homes, but these powers carry risks and are rarely used. We concluded that the government needs to make existing powers easier to understand and use, and provide new powers where necessary. That brings me to mortgage financing. The evidence we saw during our inquiry shows that the high loan-to-value mortgage rates are so important for the first-time buyers. And it's good news that such mortgages are becoming more available now than they have been before. And that's because of the prudential and financial regulations affecting the property market. However, there's more to be done, and we need to encourage lenders to change their affordable assessments so that they are fair and the mortgages are accessible to those who need them most. For example, it should never be the case that a renter can be turned down for a mortgage because they can't afford the repayments when those repayments are less than what they are already paying in rent. Other financial products beside mortgages can also be put towards the cost of a new home. Some products are even backed by the government, such as the lifetime ISA. But I won't go over all the problems with lifetime ISAs for now. As part of our inquiry, we jointly sat with the Treasury colleagues in their select committee and they have published a separate report for that. Suffice to say, the government has promised to replace the lifetime ISA with a new product specifically for first-time buyers, and we support them in doing so. This new first-time buyer ISA will be introduced in 2028. The government has launched a consultation on its design just 2 days ago. We are glad that, in line with our recommendations, the design is geared specifically towards first-time buyers and does not have a withdrawal charge that could cost people their initial investments. However, we also recommend that the government avoid a static property price cap that could make the product useless in some parts of the country. The government has not yet set out the details of its property price cap for the new ISA, so we are still waiting to see how the government will ensure the product remains useful over time and in every region of the country. As well as publishing our inquiry report, we also wrote to the Minister on the 29th of April, setting out our concerns relating to home buying and the selling process. We found it was a painful experience that reduces motivation to move and slows down the housing market. These barriers and necessary costs should be eliminated to encourage more people to move, to increase day-to-day supply of homes on the market, and to reduce the number of transactions that fall through. In particular, we recommend that the Ministry should mandate necessary property information is provided earlier in the process, that conditional contracts should be used to make transaction agreements binding at an earlier stage, and that there should be a stronger regulation of property agents. The government has promised to address the first two of these in its reform roadmap, published last week. While the government has stopped short of regulating property agents, it has promised to publish a code of practice for them by the end of the year. I hope, with the political instability, that is not lost. Lastly, I turn to the subject of stamp duty land tax. Stamp duty directly reduces the affordability of home ownership by increasing how much people need to pay to buy a home. More than that, it slows the property market. It stops people relocating for work or downsizing and ultimately damages the economy. I wish I could say that stamp duty was an isolated problem, but all property taxes, like business rates and council tax in this country, are a mess. Similarly to this report, we have where we've asked for the government to make changes to council tax, we recommend that stamp duty should be overhauled and replaced. It's fundamentally unfair and it's damaging our economy. These two taxes need to be changed, and I hope the new government takes that opportunity. Stamp duty provides £14 billion of government revenue each year, so the government can't just get rid of it outright. But we've called on the government to consult by the end of the year on alternative forms to stamp duty, including replacing it with a revenue-neutral alternative, such as an annual property tax, reducing rates to stimulate more transactions, tying tax bands more closely with local house prices, and updating reliefs to better meet government goals. I know the new Prime Minister is keen on a land value tax, and I hope this is a priority for his new government. In conclusion, Sir Alec, it was this day 3 years ago that I moved into the first home I've owned by myself. But for so many people, home ownership is beyond reach. In my constituency of Woking, more people are having to leave their hometown to buy their first home. Some are not able to buy a home at all. That is not acceptable. To address housing affordability and to ensure our young constituents can get a foot on the housing ladder, we need the government to go much further and much faster. We need the government to use a range of approaches to improve the supply of homes and the effective demand for those homes. We welcome the steps the government is taking in some areas, but in others it must be bolder to enact policies that we have set out in our report that can lead to real and long-lasting improvement in the affordability of home ownership for first-time buyers in this country.
Andrew George.
Thank you, Sir Alex, and it's a pleasure to follow my honourable friend for Woking. So my question, before I ask my question, I should declare an interest as a former chief executive of a registered provider and a community land trust, and now a volunteer on its board, the Cornwall Community Land Trust, and therefore worked in this sector for some time. And my question really is in relation to, first of all, congratulating him and his committee on an excellent report, which I hope that the government will take heed of. And also to take note of the fact that I was very fortunate, as you were, Mr. Chair, in coming high in the private members' bill stakes, and have opted on the Friday the 13th of November to advance an affordable housing bill on that date. And there is an opportunity over the next 5 months to draw together a range of options and clauses which I hope will help the government deliver the laudable objectives which the government have established in terms of addressing housing need, but I think they need further tools to do so. So in relation to that, there is a concern that the planning system still is weak in that the provision for affordable homes is often used as a Trojan horse by wily private developers whose intention is not to provide affordable but in fact unaffordable homes, and that Trojan horse is often exploited. The second is that there is a need for stronger ingredients to ensure that we can genuinely deliver affordable homes, particularly in perpetuity for the in perpetuity community benefit. And there are a range of measures which could be taken to advance that. And finally, just to repeat really that on the 13th of November will be the second reading of the bill. The draft bill is in gestation at the moment, and I do hope that the committee and indeed the Minister would be prepared to work with me constructively in the coming months to look at ways in which we can strengthen and advance the cause, because it's quite clear at the moment that the government is going to struggle to deliver what we all agree needs to be delivered in terms of addressing the desperate need for more affordable homes in this country. Thank you, Sir Alex.
Bill Forster.
I want to thank my honourable friend for St Ives, his contribution, obviously, and his thanks for my and the committee's work. I want to sort of, in return, say thank him for choosing housing as the topic of his private members' bill. I know this bill is going to really improve things in the housing front, and I'm thankful that he's putting this high on the agenda. The committee and I will look to support and speak as much as we can in favour of this bill, and I hope the Minister works constructively with him on what I would hope is passing. And even if it doesn't pass, the government may take its provisions into other legislation. To answer his question about the viability of developments that means affordable housing is reduced, I am very concerned that we are seeing that across the country. In my constituency of Woking, brownfield developments don't have any affordable housing contributions at all because they're classed as unviable, yet they are still not being built. And we need to ensure that developers do make contributions on affordable housing, but that underlines the social affordable housing programme by the government is so essential to cover up for that lack of viability. The committee has also raised concerns with the government that they should change the Public Works Loan Board's requirements to ensure that councils, via their HRA, Housing Revenue Account powers, can invest in maintaining properties, but building new homes, which is exactly what we need.